Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Catalano. I will be the moderator for today's event. Thank you for registering for D&H's presentation today, focusing on Windows innovation, which we'll be discussing device refresh, any autopilot services. Today we'll be having our Microsoft presenter, Robert McGilvray, who is basically affectionately known as America's specialist. He's going to cover all of our Windows Pro devices. Any questions that you may have during the presentation, please feel free to drop into the chat and we will work together to get those answered for you. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, we'll be discussing at the end of the event. Rob?
Yeah, thanks. Well, hey, everyone, again, thank you for joining today. Looking forward to spending some time with you guys today. And again, please utilize that Q&A portion here, so we can definitely get your questions answered today. Again, my name is Robert McGilvray. I'm the America Specialist here at Microsoft, really for everything Windows 11 Pro and Enterprise. And so what we do know is that, two big things, right? We know that artificial intelligence is really on the rise in the workplace, right? And we know that the computer has become, and the PC has become, probably the most important tool in our toolkit for end users within our customers' organizations. We know employees are spending more time than ever, right, in meetings, on emails. I think we have a best practice at Microsoft that, hey, if you're not traveling and you don't block your calendar off, right, we're going to schedule you on a meeting from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Oh, and we're going to do a meeting every 30 minutes and 3 meetings every 30 minutes, and we want you to be on every single meeting, right? So we know that we're spending a lot more time in front of our computers. We also know that, hey, look, there's this new element of generative AI, and employees are really trying to figure out, hey, how could I leverage generative AI to help me simplify maybe some of these things at work that maybe I don't necessarily want to prioritize or don't necessarily want to do. An example here is, I had a partner one time say, hey, we want a bio, and I sent them a couple sentence bio, and they're like, oh no, we want this big, long executive bio format. And so I was like, when do you need a bio? And they're like, oh, we want it by the end of the day. And my day got busy, and honestly, it was just something I didn't want to do, right? Something that I don't necessarily like talking about myself. And so I kind of procrastinated, like we kind of do, push it off to the end of the day, and then popped up on my calendar that I needed to get it done. And I thought to myself, hey, wait a second, what if Copilot or generative AI could actually help me write a bio? And so put a few prompts into Copilot in Word, and all of a sudden I had an executive bio in a matter of minutes, right? And so, I think we're really trying to figure out from an employee perspective how we can use this generative AI to really help simplify work and then really improve productivity as well. I was actually asked a question a while back on an AI panel where they said, hey, what's your hope for AI in the workplace and in the community? And I said, for me, it's like, hey, I want to work 8 to 5, right? I want to see how I can leverage AI to help me work 8 to 5 so I can actually go spend more time with my family. And maybe AI can help me improve my productivity so I don't have to work at night. And so we know that this artificial intelligence is really on the rise. But we also know is that cyber threats are also continue to be a top priority and a top concern for a lot of our customers. We know that customers are experiencing, firmware attacks in their organization, right? We know that cyber attacks can cost on average about 6.7% of revenue loss. We project by next year that, this cybersecurity industry will be a $10.5 trillion industry. And we're continuing to see an increase in these ransomware and firmware level attacks in our organization. And so how does this device, right, and how do these things that we're doing and innovating from a Windows perspective really help organizations, achieve some of their security goals? Because we know that, hey, look, when COVID hit, all these devices went out in the wild. And now everyone's working from home and we have this flexible work. And so I don't have all these devices within my organization contained within the 4 walls of my organization. So I do need to make sure that I'm thinking about more advanced security solutions and really taking into consideration, what is needed at the core and the chip level of a PC to make sure that I'm providing the right level of security, make sure that these PCs, no matter where they're being used throughout the world, are secure, and I can feel comfortable and confident in my security solutions that I have in my organization. So with all of this, and I've kind of touched on this a little bit, right? This, the business community landscape has really changed over the last few years. We've talked a little bit about security, and we've talked a little bit about AI. When COVID hit, the term was work from home, and then we kind of transitioned into like this hybrid work mentality. And now I really think we're sitting here with flexible work, right? We want to make sure that we're getting our customers the right tools, the right devices, the right peripherals to make sure that they're supporting the way that their end users are working in this new flexible work environment, whether it's at home or in a Starbucks or on the road, right? That they have everything that they need to be productive. And we've seen really a big shift recently in a lot of conversations that I know I'm having with customers have really started to shift into, hey, am I delivering the right end user experience? And we see this start to become a little more top of mind for customers. Am I delivering the best in class experience for my employees so I can, retain my talent and recruit top talent? And so we know that end user experience is something that continues to be top of mind. So this is pretty, this is a lot, right? End user experiences, flexible work, security, and in this AI computing wave. And so hopefully today, as we talk about some of these things, right, we can provide you all with some clarity, so then you can go have the conversations with your customers to really help them, accelerate their PC refresh. So Windows 10, look, Windows 10 is going into support. And we are less than a year out from Windows 10 going into support. You'll continue to hear some more messaging on that from Microsoft here in the coming days and weeks, right? This date is not moving. October 14th of 2025 is when Windows 10 goes into support. And we know that there are tens of millions of PCs here in the US that are not eligible to move to Windows 11 because we did raise those base hardware requirements this go around. That's probably the biggest difference and one of the most impactful differences in this transition between, when customers transitioned from 7 to 10, yes, it was kind of a brand new OS and there was a lot of app compatibility issues there, but we didn't have any base hardware requirements. We're saying, hey, from 10 to 11, it's a simpler migration, it's a feature update. It's still built on the same foundation of Windows 10, so it's an easier transition, but you do have some base hardware requirements, which mean that there are PCs in your environment that are ineligible to move. Last time I looked at this number of what we can see, because we can't see everything from a device perspective at Microsoft, it's around 30 million PCs that can be refreshed between now and end of support. And so we know this data is coming, and we know there's a massive opportunity for us to go out there and have these conversations and build this value around Windows 11 to make sure we can get our customers moving their entire environment over to Windows 11 ahead of Windows 10 end of support. And this is really where we feel like the PC really has its foundational element, for every single organization out there when they think about enriched end user experiences and the AI stack with Microsoft. So, it's funny. I'll talk to a lot of customers, and customers, all they want to talk about is the shiny toy that's Copilot for Microsoft 365, right? They're seeing things like, oh, we see these surveys coming out that, hey, look, people are saving 10 hours per month, right? They're catching up on tasks quicker. I just gave an example about how I used Copilot in Word to help me create a bio, right? So there's a lot of buzz, and customers are trying to figure out, hey, how can I implement and is there an ROI for me to really start implementing, the productization of AI into the, collaborative applications that my end users are using on a daily basis? And we also know that organizations have this top of mind, right? A lot of organizations have committees or V teams that are focused on how they're going to implement AI because they know that they need to figure this out to stay competitive, right? And figure out how AI can really help impact end user productivity, but also impact revenue as well. And that's why we really think that, in the center here is really the core, right? This continuous investment in innovation in the Windows ecosystem, really is that foundational element, right? It's kind of that intersection point of, hey, look, we want to look at AI. We see that AI has, some significant benefits, but I need to make sure that I'm modernizing my endpoint environment to really take advantage of a lot of these capabilities. And I'll talk about some of that innovation here in a minute. We pose this question to customers, right, when they're thinking about Copilot for Microsoft 365. That is a cloud-based solution, right? So it's connectivity dependent. And we say, hey, look, if you're going to go spend this money on this additional add-on license to your agreement, whether it's CSP or EA, like, how great is that experience going to be if you're running that on a 4 or 5-year-old PC already that already has some performance issues? Maybe it's already having some connectivity issues. So latency is not, going to be that great. I see an actual question dropped in the chat. I think this is a great question. There is no Windows 12, so don't worry about Windows 12. Windows 11 24H2 actually just dropped on October 1st, and Windows 12 hasn't been discussed internally at Microsoft. So, Windows 11 24H2 is a larger feature update to the Windows 11 platform, which is really setting us up for success. As we look at some of this continuous AI innovation that we're bringing to the Windows 11 platform. So how are we innovating, right? We know that there can be some confusion out there, right, around how we're transforming Windows with AI. And so I'm hoping I can provide some clarity here. So there's really now, three classes of PCs that our customers can consider. And we need to make sure that we're working with our customers to say, hey, look, which device is right for which end user in your organization. So today we have modern Windows 11 PCs. I'm on a modern Windows 11 PC. Currently, right, this is a PC that was running Windows 10, was eligible to upgrade to Windows 11. So it's upgraded to Windows 11, right? So it's a modern PC running, Windows 11. And on this, we're going to continue to bring innovation and new features, and I'll talk about some of those here in a minute, that are AI powered, right, on these Windows 11 PCs. Then we have this next class of Windows 11 PC, which is what we're calling and defining as kind of this AI PC, right? This is really going to be those devices that have this first generation neural processing unit. When we think about neural processing units and their capacity and capabilities, we measure that in what we call TOPS, so trillions of operations per second. And so these first generation devices with this new NPU that ranges anywhere from 10 to 16 TOPS are what we're kind of classifying as these new Windows 11 AI PCs. Those Windows AI experiences that are going to be lit up by these PCs is Windows Studio Effects. And I'll actually talk a little bit more about what that means, because I think it's really a great example of kind of the art of the possible. And then back in May, we announced our Windows Copilot Plus PCs. This created a little confusion, because everything at Microsoft from an AI perspective is really branded with this Copilot brand. I will say that, hey, look, you don't need a Copilot for Microsoft 365 license to light up these experiences, right? The experiences that you're getting on a Windows 11 Copilot Plus PC are really driven and determined by the capabilities of that neural processing unit. And if that device is certified as a Copilot Plus PC, those experiences will be available to our customers. So this is really that next generation of technology, right? These are the fastest, most intelligent Windows PCs to date, right? And they're going to have this next generation of neural processing unit. And to be classified as a Copilot Plus PC, the device needs to have at least a neural processing unit of 40 or greater TOPS. I'll talk more on that in a second. 16 gigs of RAM and a 256 gigabyte hard drive. From a Windows perspective, we are going to continue to innovate to bring new experiences into this platform running on a Copilot Plus PC. All right, so this is the new unique architecture. I'm sure everyone's kind of heard of this, but again, we like to kind of talk about this system on a chip, right? So historically, the system on a chip has had your CPU and GPU, potentially RAM. Now we have the introduction of this neural processing unit, right? This is a processing unit that is designed specifically for deep learning, low power, to really utilize and leverage AI tasks locally on the edge, on the device, without any connectivity dependency, out to the internet for those AI experiences. And when we think about the orchestration at the device level, this is what's happening with Windows Scheduler, right? So Windows Scheduler is going to look, it's going to see, hey, look, you have AI in your application. This is an AI workload. Hey, I'm now going to move you over to the NPU so you can take advantage of this neural processing unit and then take advantage of these AI features. So now let's kind of talk about innovation across the entire Windows 11 platform. So I actually want to talk about some experiences out there today that are available on a modern Windows 11 PC without an NPU. Okay, and this is really where I kind of want to help provide that differentiation. Like, what do I get from a modern PC that doesn't have an NPU, and what do I get from a PC that has an NPU, and then what can an end user expect, and what can an organization get for a PC that has this next generation of NPU or Copilot Plus PC. So every Windows 11 PC today has Microsoft Copilot. So you may be familiar with the Copilot and Windows application. We did make some recent changes here that Copilot Windows application is now just for a personal Microsoft account login experience. If our customers are logging in with their Copilot or with their Entra ID, that experience for Copilot, which again is access into the generative AI chat experience, that experience is now moving over to the Microsoft 365 app. So Copilot is now going to be available in the Microsoft 365 app when you log in with your Entra ID. And then at that point, if you do have a Copilot for Microsoft 365 license, you'll get that toggle between the AI-powered chat also into the Microsoft 365 Biz Chat, where then you can chat within your own internal organization. So those experiences are shifting a little bit, right? We'll still have the consumer experience, which is the Copilot Windows app, which is available in Microsoft Store. And then you'll have your corporate instance, which will be transitioning into the M365 app. I actually have both on my PC. I like that generative AI chat and Copilot in Windows, and then I also like the chat that I have available, within the Microsoft 365 app. So this is available on any Windows 11 PC. Also available on any Windows 11 PC when you log in with your Entra ID now is actually what we call AI-powered recommendations. So you'll see here we're making a big focus on how we can leverage AI to help end users gain access to their information quicker. We know we spend a ton of time trying to find files and trying to find information. I just did this the other day where I couldn't remember a slide that I was actually looking for in this presentation on Secure Core PCs, and I was like, man, I haven't presented on that in a while. I was trying to find it, and I couldn't remember what presentation I found it in. And so we'll talk about how we're continuing to innovate to really help AI help us gain access, to our information quicker on our PC. So with AI-powered recommendations, and when you log in with your Entra ID, AI is actually going to look for recommendations. When you open File Explorer to say, hey, look, we think this file could be relevant to an upcoming meeting on your calendar. This file could be relevant because someone shared it with you. This file could be relevant based on your previous usage of that file. And so we're going to leverage AI with your Entra ID to help end users gain access to information quicker. And this is available on any Windows 11 PC. Probably my favorite new tool within Windows 11. And I've actually had customers tell me that they're going to move to Windows 11 just specifically for this function and feature is the snipping tool. And so we've actually made some enhancements with the snipping tool. Historically, with the snipping tool, if you took a screenshot of this of the screen and file that I'm sharing, and you wanted to use that information, you'd have to then retype it into your preferred file format. Well, we're now integrating optical character recognition into the snipping tool, where with the push of a button, you can actually capture and extract the text from the snip and copy and paste it over into your preferred file format. And so we're infusing AI into that snipping tool, and we're also infusing AI into other tools like Paint, which are more consumer driven. But again, we're delivering AI experiences, right, for end users across the entire Windows 11 suite of products, whether they have an NPU or they don't. We're also focused on accessibility. So things like live captioning, narrator support, natural language interaction. Again, all these things are available across the entire Windows 11 platform because we want to continue to innovate to make sure that Windows is the most accessible version ever. And we're continuing to innovate to make sure that every single end user within our customers' organizations have a great experience. So now let's talk about meetings a little bit, right? So I kind of touched on this a second ago on Windows Studio Effects. So Windows Studio Effects is available on an AI PC, and it's also available with some enhanced features on our Copilot Plus PC. But I like to share this example because we're hearing from customers that this really helps them understand the art of the possible and the power of what an NPU can actually bring to a PC. So I'm sure everyone here remembers back when COVID hit, we sent everyone home, right? And then all of a sudden, all of our meetings that used to happen in person were now happening on some collaboration platform, whether that was Microsoft Solution Teams, or Zoom, or potentially another third-party meeting application. Then all of a sudden, everyone said, hey, look, I haven't seen your face in a while. And so we want you to get on camera. In most of our houses, I know I have 3 kids, weren't really suitable. We didn't really want necessarily people to see our backgrounds, right? Because maybe we didn't have our home office set up at the time. And so we turn on our video and then we turn on our background blur. At that point, we really asked the CPU to start doing some of this AI video processing, which really taxed the CPU. I know I experienced that, right? The fans in the device would kick on, the device would get hot, it would get kind of jittery, right? We have seen enhancements in the capabilities and the powers of the CPU, and also enhancements in these collaboration platforms to deliver a better experience. So that experience has gotten better. When we think about, the art of the possible around an NPU, from the Windows side, we said, hey, look, what happens if we move all of this video processing off the CPU and we put it onto the NPU? Well, now all of a sudden we've freed up the CPU workload, right? That's a win. But now that we actually have this on the NPU, could we then enhance the experience, right? Could we bring in better background noise cancellation? Could we bring in portrait blur, eye gaze correct, better background blur, right? And so when we think about the NPU from a Windows experience perspective, it's, hey, look, can we take a process that today is potentially normally running on a CPU, let's move it over to the NPU, and then once we've got it onto the NPU, what enhanced capabilities can we bring to that feature? And then also, what are some new innovative features that we can bring to these platforms that have these neural processing units? And I'll talk about what some of those new innovations that we're bringing into the Copilot Plus PC line are here in a second. And so when we think about Copilot Plus PCs, right? So we did raise the threshold for a PC to be classified and certified as a Copilot Plus PC. Again, these devices are going to have a 40 plus TOPS peak performance NPU. There'll be versions available from Qualcomm running on ARM, and also Intel and AMD running on the x86 platform. Minimum 16 gigabytes of hard drive, and then a 256 storage. And again, these are going to be those most performant PCs out there today. I've tested a Copilot Plus PC, and I will say with my full E5 Microsoft stack running on that device, my Edge browser open probably with way too many tabs, and all of my other applications open, I can get 10 to 12 hours of battery life fully unplugged. I can work an entire day plus on battery, and I don't see any performance. I don't see the performance of the PC degrading when I'm running on battery, right? And so we know that these are the most performant PCs ever, and they are delivering these unique experiences from a performance perspective. We're then going to bring some new exclusive AI features on the Windows side. When we talk about the power of these NPUs, really in the Copilot Plus PC, right? What I focus on at Microsoft is the Windows side. Okay, what are these Windows experiences? We know, and you may hear that, hey, Microsoft is partnering with ISVs. We know Intel, AMD, Qualcomm are partnering with ISVs to say, hey, look, how can you integrate AI into your applications and then leverage the NPU on the PC, right? That's the second bucket. So we have AI experiences driven by Windows, AI experiences that will be driven by these third-party applications. And then when I talk to customers, it's like, hey, well, what could I potentially use this NPU for? Right? Maybe my environment is very adverse. Maybe I'm in a regulated industry. We don't want any AI solutions that are powered by the cloud, right? Or the call out to the cloud. And so we block those features. And it's like, hey, what are some things potentially we could do internally to leverage an NPU on the edge on these PCs and maybe do some customized workflows? And so there's really 3 unique experiences, right? And that's really that business and future ready experience, that a Windows 11 PC comes with from a Copilot Plus PC perspective. When we think about some of these new features, so I won't dive too deep in the recall. We know that's a very popular feature. It's actually coming back in preview. When we launched it, we actually pulled it out of the preview, and it's coming back in the preview on our ARM systems this month. I believe on our x86 systems in the next couple months. But again, what recall does is recall just captures everything that your PC has seen. Just to provide a little clarity here, and if we have time, we can always do a deep dive, is that recall again is stored locally on your device. I'm not sure why the slide keeps flipping back, but it's like automatically flipping back, so I apologize there. What recall does is it just captures a snippet, captures a screenshot, and again, that screenshot is stored locally on your hard drive, and it's encrypted with BitLocker. And then if an end user wants to access their recall data, they have to do a presence authentication, leveraging Windows Flow for Business to get access to that information, at which point that information is then decrypted, and then the end user can then go into the recall platform to then go and search and find anything that their PC has seen, right? So this is a very cool feature. Again, it's actually leveraging an LLM, just not with all the data, but just an LLM that resides locally on the PC in this recall application. But again, this is nothing is sent to the cloud. This all resides locally on the PC. It's encrypted with BitLocker and then decrypted when you do your presence authentication. So all of this information is securely stored locally on the device. Nothing is sent to Microsoft. Nothing leaves the PC, and it's tied to that end user's set and profile on that PC. We're then bringing additional features here. Right, bringing some innovation on Click to Do, where you can actually click on something directly on your desktop or directly on an image, and you can actually create tasks, look for certain things. So pretty cool from a Click to Do perspective. Live captioning. So live captioning is available on any Windows 11 PC, but if you have a Copilot Plus PC today, you actually get real-time translation. So if you haven't experienced this before, you can just turn on live captioning if you're on a Copilot Plus PC, and whatever's playing on your PC, whether it's you're in a Teams call or watching a video, if a foreign language is being spoken, it's going to automatically translate that into English. You don't have to actually tell it what language is being spoken. It'll actually pick up that language and automatically translate 40 plus languages into English. That's available today. We are continuing to work on English out to 40 plus languages. So pretty powerful tool from an accessibility perspective. We're bringing new innovations in Windows Studio Effects, portrait lighting, better auto framing, You can actually do some animation effects as well within Windows Studio Effects. Probably the one that I actually get a lot of people kind of get up out of their seat with is now improved Microsoft Search. So the way I like to explain this is, as I was talking earlier, look, I was looking for a slide and I couldn't find it, right? I remember what the slide's about, I remember what the slide looks like, but I don't remember what I titled the slide, right? And so today, if I'm searching, I need to search by name of the slide. Now with improved search, leveraging the NPU and a Copilot Plus PC, I can actually just explain what I'm looking for. And it'll actually go and it will go and actually leverage the NPU to search my files to actually then bring back the content that actually matches what I'm typing in the deep search from an improved search perspective. So we're really helping customers. Again, we're visual learners, right? We remember what something looks like, but we may not remember what we actually titled it. And so improved search, leveraging the NPU locally on a Copilot Plus PC is going to help end users, find and access their files based on how they remember, those files instead of exact file name when they're searching. So now let's kind of shift a little about security. So we did set the stage earlier, right? We know that cybersecurity threats are continuing to be top of mind, for a lot of organizations. And so we're actually bringing some improvements into the Copilot Plus PC platform from a security perspective. So when we launched Windows 11, we did require a PC to have a TPM 2.0 chip. And that's because we wanted to turn on virtual-based security by default. In all transparency, those features were available in Windows 10. It just wasn't a hardware requirement. And if the hardware didn't support it, you couldn't turn those on. And they weren't on by default. So when we raised the base hardware requirements for Windows 11, requiring that we could then turn on virtual-based security, HVCI by default. With that, we've actually seen a 58% reduction in security instances between a Windows 10 PC and a Windows 11 PC across the board, right? Because we're able to turn on some of those things by default. When we look at the landscape of Windows, we actually have 3 tiers of what we call security at the Windows level. You can actually look at this when you look at Windows security menu, and you can actually go into your device security, and you can actually find which level your PC today fits into from a device security perspective. So we have standard security, we have enhanced security, and then we have secure core PCs. And secure core PCs are the highest level of Windows security and advanced security today available on Windows 11 PCs. So there are PCs out there in the market today that do meet this requirement. Those could be PCs with AMD Ryzen Pro, Intel vPro, Qualcomm, right? They're able to reach a secure core PC classification because of some of the technology at the silicon level. But with Copilot Plus PCs, we're actually secure core PCs out of the box. And with every Copilot Plus PC, it's going to be a secure core PC. And the big enhancement here is that with Copilot Plus PCs, we've now integrated and worked very closely with our silicon partners to have the Microsoft Pluton security processor directly on the system on the chip. So what does this mean? This means that there's no longer the need for a TPM 2.0 chip on these PCs, because we're actually bringing the Microsoft security Pluton processor directly onto the system on the chip. So what does this really mean, for our customers, right? The first thing is that we know historically that a TPM chip has been difficult to update. So if there's a security update that needs to be pushed down to a TPM chip, that has been challenging for IT departments. And so with Pluton directly on the system on the chip on a Copilot Plus PC, we can now actually provide security processor updates directly through Windows Update. So we're able to deliver those security updates directly to the PC through the tools that we know our end users or our customers are using, to manage their environment today. Also, no longer the need for that discrete TPM 2.0 also eliminates, again, just one other element where a bad actor can potentially latch onto if they've physically stolen the PC to try to gain access. So this does really help us improve a secure core PC out of the box, and then also delivers, some additional improvements for our end users when they think about security and delivering those critical updates from a security processor perspective, to PCs in their environment. As I mentioned earlier, you can find this on your PC today. If you just go down, search for Windows Security, look for Device Security, and you click into that submenu. Depending on what version of Windows you're in today, you'll actually see a statement that says, hey, your device meets the standard security level, so UEFI, Secure Boot, TPM 2.0. Maybe your device meets the enhanced, right, where you have enhanced sign-in capability leveraging Windows Hello for Business. Maybe you have memory access protection enabled. Then you reach that secure core PC with things like system management mode. There's some deep dive links in there as well. So I would encourage you to kind of go into your existing PC, do that exercise. There's actually active links that'll take you out and explain what all these features are a little more in depth, as well as you might see some caution symbols with recommendations for some security things to turn on locally on your PC as well. All right, so to kind of close out before we kind of open it up for questions here, just a few tactical things, right? Windows 10 is going into support. When I talked about that at the beginning, right? October 14th, 2025. One thing to just kind of keep in mind, right? When we made this commitment years ago that we said, hey, look, for Windows versions that we bring out, we've shifted away from 2 major releases a year to just 1 major release a year in the fall. So that's where we get the H2 from. We've said, hey, look, we're just going to operate on a 3-year life cycle. So every single OS version that we bring out in the fall, it'll have the calendar year, and then it'll be called H2, and we're going to support that for 3 years. So we actually had a version of Windows 11 go into support earlier this month because it reached its 3-year life cycle. And so on October 14th, 2025, Windows 10 22H2 will go into support along with Windows 11 22H2. And then on October 1st, we did just release Windows 11 24H2, which again will have a 3-year life cycle, following that methodology that we instituted years ago on how we're going to support versions of Windows. And again, Windows 11 is just the best version of Windows 10. It is a feature update to the platform, but we did raise those base hardware requirements. So we do know that customers potentially have devices that are not eligible to move within their organization. And so this is a great flyer. This is more of a leave behind flyer, right, for you all to say, hey, look, here's a lot of resources available, a lot of studies we've done between Windows 10 and 11, a lot of those improvements that I've already talked about, some of the productivity gains, some of the security instances reduction. And so we've got a lot of great resources available for you, right? We've got calculators out there and support calculators. We've got all the programs available to help support customers as they prepare to migrate their environment. And so tons of resources out there. There's tons of active links in the slide when you download it. So again, we just wanted to bring this up to say, look, we've got all the resources out there that you guys can leverage with your customers to make sure that they're planning and preparing, for Windows 10 going into support. And they can really see the value of moving, from Windows 10 to Windows 11. We also know, that our customers do wait a little bit. Right? We kind of went back and looked at some historical data in our transition from Windows 7 to 10. And we found that, customers really in that last year really start to accelerate device refresh ahead of an OS version going end of support. So we do know that now is the time to act. We do need to make sure that we're getting in front of our customers to have these conversations. And it really boils down to kind of 2 things when we talk to customers, right? We have announced that we will have a Windows 10 extended security update program. So just like we did with Windows 7, if a customer does not get to Windows 10 ahead of end of support, they can buy extended security units. And so customers really need to understand this is really where we can help. This is probably the highest value activity we can do for our customers today is really go in and help them assess their environment, understand which devices are eligible to move, which ones aren't. Get that count of ineligible PCs. This is a great way to get visibility into creating pipeline, for your customers on which devices need to be refreshed ahead of end of support. And then really help your customers understand, hey, look, if I don't get there and if I don't create a plan to get there ahead of end of support, what is this going to cost me? Right? How much is it going to cost me to continue to support my environment post Windows 10 going end of support if I don't, migrate my entire environment over to Windows 11 by that time? And then the other flip side of that is really just helping customers understand the benefits, right? We've talked about generative AI benefits, the innovation we're bringing with AI-powered recommendations, sniffing tool, Copilot Windows, that Copilot experience directly on the device, some of the advantages and improvements with these new PCs just being faster, better battery life. We talked about the MPU and some of the value the MPU brings, right? So there are a lot of opportunity costs, really those indirect soft costs that customers really need to consider. So there's the hard cost if you don't move. What is it going to cost me for extended support? And then, hey, what am I missing out on if I'm not innovating and refreshing my environment to deliver more modern devices to my end users so they can then reap some of the benefits of this new technology? So what we've done is we do have tools right? We do have tools available today across all the Microsoft tooling out there from an endpoint management perspective, where customers can go in, and you can actually go in and help your customers determine which devices are eligible to move and which ones aren't. I won't go in depth here, but again, if customers are using Windows Update for Business, there's readiness reporting in there. If customers are on Intune, whether they're co-managed or cloud native, we have a work from anywhere report that can help customers understand which devices are eligible to move, which ones aren't. In Configuration Manager, SCCM, we have a hardware inventory report that can actually tell customers which devices are eligible to move and which ones aren't. And if you're not using a Microsoft solution from an endpoint management perspective, we do have a readiness PowerShell script that customers can use to then query a machine and report back whether it's eligible to move to Windows 11 or not. So I'll just touch on this briefly. Again, as we close this out, it looks like we got a lot of great questions in the chat here. Look, we understand customers might say, I'm not going to move because I'm unsure about my apps, right? So we want everyone to know that, hey, look, we have a Microsoft compatibility promise. We actually guarantee if you have an application running on Windows 10 today, that it will run on Windows 11. And we actually have an App Assure program that says, hey, look, if you encounter any issues with apps running on 10 when you move over to 11, we actually have a team of engineers that will get involved free of charge to help you remediate why that application that is running on 10 today is encountering problems running on Windows 11. We currently have about a 99.7% app compatibility rate. Okay, so and the reason why we're able to have such a high app compatibility rate, again, is because Windows 11 is built on the foundation of Windows 10 using the same kernel, and it is a feature update to the Windows 10 platform. So with that, I think we're going to just say, hey, thanks. I know we covered a lot of content in about 35-ish minutes here. But again, hey, just want to open it up and see, what questions we have in the chat, maybe that we haven't had a chance to answer here. So how are we doing on the chat? Let's see what we got here. Okay, so question here says, so Copilot takes screenshots of what I'm doing in Windows 11. So if you have a Copilot plus PC, there is a feature, and I kind of touched on that. And actually, this is a good segue. I'll just kind of transition to the slide because I figured this might come up. So this feature is what is called recall. Okay, this feature is only available on a Copilot plus PC, and it's actually only available in the Windows Insider program today on some of our ARM-based Copilot plus PC experiences. So what this does is, you're right. So if you opt in, right, this is an opt-in feature. IT can also turn this off. If you opt in and say, hey, look, I want to start using recall. So what recall is going to do is it's going to take a screenshot of whatever screen you're active on. So if you have multiple monitors, wherever your mouse is active, it's going to take that screenshot. It's going to take that screenshot, and then it's going to store it locally on your PC on your hard drive. Okay. One of the reasons why we raised the base hardware requirements for Copilot plus PC is because we knew that there could potentially be more data stored with recall. So it's going to leverage BitLocker. So I've actually talked with a lot of customers, even customers in regulated industries, about this feature, and we say, hey, look, it's taking a screenshot and storing it locally on your PC, leveraging your encryption policies today, leveraging BitLocker. So if you're comfortable and confident that any information stored on your hard drives today are encrypted, you should have no issues with the data that's being stored, again, because it is encrypted with BitLocker. So it's going to do that, right? So recall is going to be constantly taking this. We actually have features where you can say, hey, don't take a screenshot of Teams. You can actually set up certain things and configure certain things you don't want it to take screenshots of. If there's digital rights management content you're viewing, it won't take a screenshot of that. So there's some intelligent stuff in there as well. But then as an end user, if I want to go then access my recall data, so find what my PC has seen, to access the recall platform, I have to actually do a presence authentication. So even if I'm logged into my PC, I actually have to do this presence authentication. What we call proof of presence. So these devices need to be leveraging Windows Hello. So it's going to use my face biometrics or my fingerprint. I'm not going to be able to use my PIN. So I'm going to have to prove my presence. Once I prove my presence, I can then get into this recall application, which will provide me with a timeline feature where I can use natural language interaction, or I can use text to say, hey, look, show me the time that I was in Edge and I saw a red tree or a green, purple, whatever tree, right, with a red bar behind it. Right? And then it's going to go and actually find when my PC saw that. Okay. Once I find what I'm looking for, it's then going to leverage the LLM and optical character recognition to analyze those images, and then link out to maybe that web page, or maybe there's a document. It'll get the link to that document. again, if I don't have access to the document, I'm not going to be able to see the document. But again, it'll use the LLM locally on the device to then, create those processes to where it's then going to link me out to that information that I'm looking for from a recall perspective. Again, all of this is stored locally on the device, 100% offline, no connectivity to the internet, nothing is sent to Microsoft, all stored locally on the PC. If it's a shared PC, right, and you have recall enabled, it's all that data is tied to the user profile. If your PC dies, the recall data does not transfer, so it's stored locally. If someone quits an organization, IT cannot access that recall data, again, because it is tied to the biometrics in that functionality. So even if IT resets the Windows Low PIN, they won't be able to gain access to that recall data because it is tied to the biometric profile that the end user has created. All right, looks like some of these have already been grayed out. So what about VDIs? Okay, can users still use local Windows 10 and take advantages of online VDI? So that's a good question. I don't think today there are any capabilities in a VDI environment to access the NPU that I'm aware of in a virtual environment. One thing on VDIs that is really important to also understand is a virtual instance of Windows 10 could also be ineligible to run Windows 11, okay? For a few reasons on the VDI side. We did with VDIs, right, in Windows 11, it does have to be a multiple core CPU, so we know that a lot of times virtual desktops are deployed with a single core CPU, so that means that that VDI instance will be ineligible to run Windows 11. And also VDIs, a lot of VDIs are deployed without virtual TPMs, and Windows 11 does require a virtual TPM. So we do know that there are virtual instances that are ineligible as well. So we need to make sure that if our customers have a heavy VDI environment, that they understand that they could have VDIs that are not eligible to receive the update. And that frankly, redeploy those virtual machines onto Windows 11 with multiple CPU cores and a virtual TPM. There's no reason from a VDI perspective that you really should be paying any extended support on a VDI. So it is an important conversation for us to have with our customers if they do have a heavy virtual desktop environment, as well. So, but great question there. All right, any other questions? Did we get all the questions answered? Oh, here we go. No, I am not aware of any way to add an NPU via an add-on card. So the NPUs, again, are directly, integrated into the system on a chip. So I am not aware of any way to add an NPU to a PC. And when we think about some of these, experiences that I've talked about, right? When I talk about some of these exclusive experiences we're bringing to a Copilot Plus PC, those experiences have to be certified by Microsoft. So these devices and the silicon has to actually be certified by our engineering team before the OS receives the bits to activate these Copilot Plus features. 99.9% of the time that's done way before a PC is ever launched. So that those things are working in the background. So those devices have to be a Copilot Plus certified PC to then get delivered with these Windows experiences. So it looks like a question from Jordan. Will Copilot Plus PCs cost considerably more? I'm not really sure on pricing. I know that there's, from what I've seen, there are a little bit more expensive, but I will say they're probably more expensive as today is probably the most expensive that they'll be, right? I think as we think about the future here, we'll continue to see innovation, and I think we'll probably soon see the day where there's really not a PC without an NPU. Right, and the innovation we're bringing to the platform, it's been pretty clear that a lot of the Windows experience innovation that we're designing and bringing, yes, we'll continue to bring experiences across all Windows 11 PCs, but a lot of these heavy AI-driven experiences like improved search, recall, super resolution, which we didn't talk about, but we're going to continue to innovate those on the Copilot Plus PC platform. Just given that it has those NPUs that actually have the capabilities of running multiple types of AI experiences, not only from a Windows perspective, but also from an ISV perspective at once to deliver that amazing, end user experience across those PCs. Cool. I don't think we get all of our questions answered. Lauren, are we good?
Double checking to see with all of them. Yeah, it looks like everything's been answered. We got a new one. If I don't have access to internet, what hardware do I need?
Yeah, so listen, I think, conceptually that's a great question, right? A lot of AI experiences today are cloud dependent. So let's just be honest there, right? Like they are cloud-driven AI applications. Copilot for Microsoft 365 is a cloud-based, connectivity-based experience, right? If you have bad connectivity, you're probably going to have bad latency. You're not going to have that great of an experience leveraging a cloud-based AI platform, right? Whether it's a Microsoft platform or whether it's ChatGPT or whatever it may be, right? Because those are dependent upon connectivity. I say I personally, right, pay for good connectivity at my house because I have a lot of kids and everyone's on the internet, right? So I have 500 megabytes up, 500 megabytes down. So my AI experiences are pretty good because I don't experience a ton of latency because I do have good connectivity. But this is a really, really, really important thing to understand. When we start talking about an NPU, we start talking about features in here that leveraging the NPU, is those features do not require a connection to the internet, okay? So I can get these things without connecting to the internet. Okay, that's probably the biggest thing to understand here. And I think as we start to see more innovation coming out, that's going to be a big thing to understand. Is like, hey, like if this feature is running locally on the NPU, it doesn't need that connectivity. I'm not going to experience that latency, right? I can have that happen if I'm 100% offline, right? And so think about leveraging generative AI in an application when on an airplane, where you don't have to connect to the internet, right? Latency is terrible on an airplane. I've tried to use Copilot on an airplane, it's awful. So think about those things as innovation continues to come on these platforms that are leveraging the NPU. That's really what you should look out for. Hey, look, if I have bad connectivity, poor connectivity, right, spotty connectivity, or I'm going to be offline, right, this is really where the value of an NPU comes in. And it also brings significant value, to industries maybe that are adverse to cloud-based AI solutions. Like I said earlier, I've talked with some regulated industry or some regulated authorities within regulated industries, right? And they've said, hey, look, we turn off any cloud-based AI or any AI solution on the desktop that calls to the cloud. But we actually think recall has some promise. We think live captioning has some promise for us because, it's all happening locally on the device. It's not dependent upon something in the cloud that it needs to call out to. So. Where will the database? All right, another question here. How do I verify if I have an NPU? Okay, so the simplest way to verify if you have an NPU is just go into Task Manager and then just go under Performance where you see the silicon elements, where you see CPU usage, RAM usage. I think it's the second tab down where you can actually see the graphs, right, of the usage. If you have an NPU, the NPU will actually show up in that view. So you can actually see what capacity of the NPU is being leveraged. I would show you that, but the device I'm on currently doesn't have an NPU. So, but yeah, in Task Manager is the simplest way to go see whether or not your PC has an NPU. So the next one is, where will the database, the AI references be located? That's a pretty loaded question there. You have, depending on what the AI solution is going to depend on where the database is located. From a Copilot perspective, we get the question a lot, right? If I'm using Copilot Windows or I'm using Microsoft Copilot and I'm accessing generative AI chat, where is that happening, right? That is hosted in Azure, in the Azure OpenAI service, right? If you have stuff that's locally on the PC, again, it's all stored locally on the PC, leveraging, your hard drive, right? So And so it just depends on what type of solution you're looking for. Will depend on where those AI references will be located. So. No, but great questions. A lot of great questions. Appreciate it. So hopefully we provided some clarity, right? I think, ultimately, the goal here was, hey, look, the clock is ticking, right? Windows 10 is coming into support. We really need to work with our customers to make sure they have a plan to get to Windows 11 ahead end of support. No one at Microsoft wants to take a customer's money for Windows 10 extended security units. We don't want to do that, right? We want to partner with you to really make sure we're helping the customers on their journey to get to Windows 11. That was really one core focus here, right? We've got the tools to go in and help customers understand which devices are eligible to move and which ones aren't, which ones need to be refreshed. But then also, hey, like, what's the value that organizations can get by moving to Windows 11? The value they can get to moving to a modern PC running Windows 11 with things like the snipping tool, Copilot access, AI-powered recommendations, live captioning, right? So all of those things. Right, our value in just moving a Windows 10 PC without an NPU to Windows 11, and then, hey, what do I get as I look at refreshing into AI PCs, potentially Copilot PCs? Like, what are some of those experiences and things that I could get from a value perspective, both for IT, but also, for the end user, and really understanding, which user within my organization needs which device to really help support the way that they're working, moving forward. And so that was hopefully the goal for today. So it was, hey, look, clock is ticking, and here's how we're innovating across the Windows platform and delivering those experiences really across those three categories of PCs. And that's kind of what I'll leave up here on the screen, is really just kind of how we're innovating across these three categories of PCs, from a Windows 11 perspective. So it looks like one other question is the AI database up to date as of today. I don't know if it's that's in reference to like an LLM, right? What is the date, the reference date of the LLM go up to? Usually those have a little bit of a lag on kind of when they're refreshed and what date the information goes up to. So if there's something specific on that, please reach out to the team. We can get you some specific answers, but those answers, an answer on that could vary again, depending on what specific, thing that you're looking for from, hey, what information is in the database up to a certain date. I know that comes up a lot when we talk about all the different LLMs that are out there. All right. Well, hey, again, just in closing, thank you all again for joining today. If you have a question that we didn't get answered, please reach out to the team, and we'll get you an answer to any question. Again, on behalf of Microsoft, we appreciate all your partnerships. Right, we couldn't do what we do. We couldn't help our customers move their environments from Windows 10 to 11 without all of you. So we appreciate all that support, and we thank you guys again for joining the webinar today.
All right, thank you everyone for attending. Within the week, we will be sending out an email to all of you with the presentation. If there's any questions you have, please feel free to give me a call. My extension is 2749, or please feel free to shoot me an email at lcatalano@dnh.com. Thank you all for joining.